The movie, which is set in a hidden Colombian village, opens with a flashback of Alma Madrigal, the matriarch of the Madrigal family, telling her granddaughter Mirabel the history of their extraordinary family. Years ago, Alma met and married the love of her life, Pedro, and together they had 3 children, namely Julieta, Pepa, and Bruno. For a time, all was well with the young couple, but when conquistadors invaded their home, they and the other villagers were forced to run. While trying to escape, the invaders catch up with them, and Pedro loses his life protecting his family. At that moment, a candle that Alma was carrying suddenly forms an enchantment. The magic from the candle sends the invaders away and creates a magical house for Alma and her children. The house is equally full of magic, and so it seems to have special protective abilities. To ensure that if tragedy struck again, the Madrigal family would be able to protect themselves and the villagers who also settled down nearby. The enchanted candle bestows special powers upon each of Alma's children. Julieta received the ability to heal people with her food, Pepa received the power to manipulate the weather based on her mood, and Bruno received the ability to see the future. The 3 grew up using their power to help the community. However, after Bruno revealed one too many sad prophecies, he became an outcast within the family. This in turn forced him to leave his mother and sisters. When the time came for marriage, Julieta met and married Agustin. Together they had 3 children, Luisa, Isabella, and Mirabel. Pepa wedded Felix, and they also had 3 children, namely Dolores, Camilo, and Antonio. When the children came of age, each of them participated in a special ceremony that involves opening a personalized magical door and discovering their gift on the other side. In her ceremony, Mirabel's elder sister Luisa received super strength, and her other sister Isabella received the gift of perception and the ability to make flowers bloom anywhere. Mirabel's cousin Dolores received the ability to hear everything from a distance, and cousin Camila was graced with the ability to shapeshift. When the time for Mirabel's ceremony comes, the magical door disappears as soon as she touches the knob, and she doesn't receive a gift. This makes her the only Madrigal without any special powers. In the present, it's the day for Antonio's ceremony, and Mirabel, who is very fond of her cousin, is just as excited as the rest of her family. Mirabel is approached by some of the children in the village, who are intrigued by the Madrigal family, and she happily tells them all about the family and their gifts. The children ask Mirabel about her gift, and she tries to wiggle her way out of it, but Dolores eventually tells the children that Mirabel didn't get a gift. Mirabel tries her best to act unbothered by this, claiming that she's just as special as the rest. But it is obvious that she is sad. Inside their magical home, which the family has nicknamed Casita, Mirabel tries to help with the preparations for Antonio's big day. Instead of acknowledging Mirabel's effort, her family politely asks her to step aside. Mirabel has a confrontation with her perfect sister, Isabella, and it appears that the two do not get along very well. The time for Antonio's ceremony finally comes, and he is nervous. Mirabel gives him a stuffed toy to calm his nerves and promises everything will go just fine. When Antonio steps into the hall, all the villagers are gathered. Antonio insists that Mirabel walk him to his door. On getting there, he receives the ability to talk to animals. Cheers erupt all over the room, and Mirabel starts feeling left out, so she makes her way out of the room, silently praying for her own miracle. When Mirabel wanders around the house, she notices the tiles on the floor start to fracture, and a ceiling tile falls. In the past, Alma assured Mirabel that the enchanted candle would never go out, but it now seems to be fading as well. Alarmed, Mirabel goes to inform the family of the impending danger. However, when they arrive at the scene, everything appears to be in good condition, leading them to believe Mirabel is just making a scene for attention. After the festivities end, Julieta tries to cheer her daughter Mirabel up, but Mirabel stands by what she saw. At night, Mirabel lies awake thinking about what she saw. Finally, she sneaks off to check on the enchanted candle. Getting there, Mirabel hears Alma praying to her late husband, Pedro, to send help. Thinking she's alone, Alma admits that she's scared they will lose their home again, seeing how the magic in the candle and Casita is weakening. Touched by her grandmother's despair, Mirabel decides she will save their miracle even if she doesn't know how. After thinking deeply, Mirabel decides that the first step towards saving the miracle is figuring out what is happening, so she devises a plan. Before breakfast the next morning, Mirabel approaches Dolores, the cousin with superhuman hearing, and tries to pry out information about the Encanto being in danger from her. From her conversation with Dolores, Mirabel learns that Luisa is worried about the events of the night before and the enchantment. This makes Luisa Mirabel's next stop. At the breakfast table, Alma tells the family that she intends to fast-track Isabella's marriage to Mariano. Dolores has a crush on Mariano, but she remains silent. Alma believes that marrying Mariano will allow Isabella to birth a new generation of Madrigals who will receive gifts and strengthen the family's defense. Throughout the family breakfast, Mirabel tries to get Luisa's attention, but all attempts fail. Alma interprets this as Mirabel looking for attention and pulls her away from Luisa. Breakfast ends and Luisa goes into town, where she uses her strength to help the villagers solve their problems. Mirabel follows Luisa, and at first, Luisa puts up a show claiming that everything is okay because she is strong. Seemingly overcome by her emotions, Luisa finally admits that she constantly feels the need to demonstrate that she is the strongest. She hugs Mirabel and reveals that she felt physically weak around the time that Mirabel informed the family of Casita's cracks. To help Mirabel in her quest, Luisa tells her that before Bruno left, he had a vision about the magic fading and advises her to visit Bruno's tower and the Madrigal home. Now more determined than ever, Mirabel ventures into Bruno's room. In there, Casita's magic is powerless to assist her, but she doesn't mind. To reach any meaningful clues, Mirabel ascends a steep staircase and swings to another ledge. She lands in a cave-like structure, narrowly escaping falling to her death. While looking around the cave, Mirabel discovers broken pieces of one of Bruno's visions. She puts a few shards together and sees herself. Before Mirabel can react to the sight of herself in Bruno's vision, the room starts to collapse. Quickly, she gathers all the shards and flees the room. On her way back to her room, Mirabel encounters Alma, who's making preparations for Isabel's engagement scheduled to take place later that evening. Noticing that Isabella is covered in sand, Alma asks where she's been, but their conversation is cut short when Luisa comes running, claiming to have lost her powers after her conversation with Mirabel. Alma is certain that Luisa's hysterical state has something to do with Mirabel, so before leaving to fetch Mariano and his mother for the engagement, she warns Mirabel not to ruin the engagement and tells her to stay away from Luisa. After returning to her room, Mirabel mutters to herself about Bruno and his vision. Suddenly, Peppa enters the room, and she gets upset upon hearing the name Bruno. Choosing to seize the opportunity, Mirabel dares to ask about her uncle Bruno. Instead of getting answers, Mirabel is bombarded by her family members and villagers who all have negative things to say about Bruno and his visions. Finally, everyone goes about their business, and Mirabel returns to her room to piece together the vision. It turns out to be an image of her standing in front of a broken and damaged casita. The vision frightens Mirabel, and before she can decide her next line of action, her father walks in on her and sees it. The two agree to keep the revelation between them until after Isabella's engagement, but Dolores, who is nearby, hears everything. The engagement dinner begins shortly after, and while Mirabel and her father are trying their best to remain composed, Dolores looks ready to blurt out the information. As soon as Mirabel breaks eye contact with her, Dolores leaks the information, and in no time, the news has spread across the table. From here, things go downhill. Alma once more accuses Mirabel of acting inappropriately, which causes the casita to develop new cracks. As a result of their panic and the magic growing weaker, the family's supernatural abilities malfunction. Luisa is unable to even move a piano into the room. Peppa starts a storm inside the house. Camilo can't manage his shapeshifting, and Isabella unintentionally creates a flower vine that accidentally hits Mariano in the face. Mariano's family is disappointed by the display, so they leave hurriedly. Isabella is livid about her failed engagement, and so she tells Mirabel that she hates her. Concerned villagers gather outside, and Alma tells them that the magic of the Encanto is fine, although they can see beyond her lies. Amidst all the commotion, Mirabel notices rats making away with shards of vision. She follows behind them and sees them entering what she later learns is Bruno's hideout behind the walls of the casita. For the longest time, the family believed that Bruno went into exile, but in truth, he left his tower and began living in the walls after he saw the vision of Mirabel and Casita. Bruno believed his gift was doing his family more harm than good. Convinced that there is more than what Bruno saw initially, Mirabel pleads with him to take another look into the future, but he refuses. As Mirabel tries to convince Bruno to help, he makes excuse after excuse. Suddenly, Antonio appears. Since he can speak to animals, the rats told him what was happening and where to find Bruno and Mirabel. Finally, Antonio and Mirabel are able to convince Bruno to have another vision. In the other part of the house, the family is freaking out. Alma goes off to calm the villagers and sends the others to look for Mirabel. In Bruno's new vision, they still see Mirabel standing in front of the cracked casita. But this time, there is something new. Mirabel spots a butterfly, and shortly after, she sees an image of herself embracing someone who turns out to be Isabella. Despite Mirabel's initial reluctance, she decides to hug Isabella if doing so will save Casita. When the vision is over, Bruno gives Mirabel a pep talk and then goes back into hiding. Now on her own, Mirabel enters Isabella's room, hoping to save the family by embracing her. Isabella is still enraged by Mirabel, and so the two have a heated exchange. When Mirabel calls Isabella selfish, Isabella becomes even more enraged and tries to drag Mirabel away with vines. Isabella claims that she has always had to present a flawless front for the family and that although she didn't want to marry Mariano, she would have done it anyway for the good of the family. In the process, Isabella creates a cactus which, while not being as conventionally beautiful as her flowers, she acknowledges is still beautiful. Isabella is astounded that she's able to create more than just perfect flowers, and as she explores the endless possibilities that her power has to offer, she talks things out with her sister Mirabel. The two sisters have fun together and hug it out in front of the enchanted candle like Bruno's vision predicted. Their joy is, however, cut short when their grandmother Alma walks in. When Alma enters the casita, she notices Isabella covered in various colors. Alma immediately turns to Mirabel, accusing her of being the cause of the casita's breakdown and everyone's out-of-control powers. Mirabel responds by saying that Alma's own unrealistic expectations of the family are the reason they're falling apart. Mirabel blames Alma for Bruno leaving and says that it's her fault that everything is going wrong. Halfway through this heated exchange, the casita begins to crack, and the floor begins to break more violently. The family tries to salvage the situation, but their powers fail them, so they have no choice but to run for it. While everyone else tries to exit the crumbling building, Mirabel notices that the candle is melting. She hurries to save it, risking her life in the process. To keep Mirabel safe, the casita uses up all of its remaining energy before crumbling utterly. History has repeated itself in the most cruel way. Once again, the Madrigal family is devastated by the loss of their home. They've also lost their powers. The effects of the enchantment fade completely across the village. As the family stands surrounded by the rubble of their home, Mirabel runs away. She goes to a nearby riverbank, and there she cries silently. She blames herself for her family's misfortune. After noticing she's gone, the other Madrigals search for Mirabel, and Alma eventually finds her by the river. Alma sits beside Mirabel and informs her that this is the location Pedro died and also the birthplace of their miracle. Still speaking, Alma admits that she tried so hard for so long to preserve the magic and the family's power that she lost sight of what truly made her family who they are. A flashback depicts Pedro and Alma's courtship, marriage, and early parenting years before they were compelled to leave their home. It also shows the creation of the Encanto. After making peace with Alma, Mirabel recognizes the butterfly from Bruno's vision. The two of them then embrace. Having summoned the courage to face his family, Bruno emerges out of nowhere, ready to defend Mirabel. He's surprised to see that instead of scolding him, his mother receives him warmly. Together, the three return home. Julieta and Peppa are thrilled to see Bruno again as he's reunited with a family. After saying heartfelt welcomes and agreeing to put the past behind them, the Madrigals get to work rebuilding their home. The villagers who are also aware of the situation show up in their numbers to help. Isabella and Mirabel work together to set Dolores up with Mariano, and he ends up falling in love with her. When the house is finished, the Madrigals come together to honor each other and praise Mirabel for being the unifier. As a way to crown her efforts, the Madrigals give Mirabel a personalized doorknob. Once she fits it onto the front door, the Encanto is reborn, and all the magic is restored to the casita and the community. The villagers are overcome by joy, and the Madrigals gather for a full family photo. This time, Mirabel is in it. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on the notification, and leave a like and comment. Thank you.